Happy Saturday and welcome to this edition of the Leadoff, heard here every Saturday on the Peak One Sports Network. I'm Ashton with Tony and Landen to get you ready for your sports weekend. What's going on, guys?
Man, it feels like we haven't been in the studio in a decade.
Yeah.
Y'all were in Galveston. Last week, I was sick. It was a good week to be sick right before Thanksgiving. Everybody in our house, not all at the same time. It was the kids are petri dishes. They just bring everything home. So one was sick one day. It was just like one day quick turnaround. The next day, the next one was sick. My wife was sick, and then I was sick. But really good timing because now coming up to Thanksgiving, we have my wife's Thanksgiving today, and then obviously we're going to Tennessee next week. So really, really good timing.
Yeah. Which, speaking of that, will be out next week.
Yeah, obviously it's Thanksgiving weekend anyways. Sure, everybody wants to be doing shopping that Saturday rather than listening to us, at least sleeping in for the long holiday weekend. Yeah. Be sure to like this video, subscribe. If you like us, hit the like button. If you don't, hit it twice. We're climbing subscribers. We're going to have a new challenge coming up soon once we get closer. I don't know. We'll come up with some number. I don't know if 1,000's the right number, but we're ticking up in subscribers. This episode is brought to you by Betalytics. Don't bet with your gut. Use Betalytics. They have all the AI programs set in stone. They have algorithms, player props. They have everything figured out for you, at least the 4 major sports. So if you're going to be gambling, just use Betalytics. Use promo code PEAK1 for 10% off when you sign up, or 25% off when you got too many sponsors now. 25% off? 20% off? I don't
25% off.
25% off, yes.
25% off.
And then another sponsor, Shank It Golf. That one used promo code 15% off. Cool golf apparel. You know, golf is fun. You should dress like it. Crazy, wacky hats. You see this hat, Legalized Mulligans, one of their hats. Polos, gloves, all kinds of cool stuff. Go over there.
They've got some like super edgy stuff too. That's like,
yeah,
you wouldn't want to ask your parents to buy you that for Christmas.
No, this is definitely not what you would wear to like your church golf tournament.
Yeah.
But maybe if you go play, foursome with your friends and you're playing drinking games and craziness like that, you make TikTok videos of you playing golf.
Yeah.
Maybe it's for you. Go click that link down in the description box. Again, use promo code PEAK1 for 15% off your order. Let's get started. News pretty much, it was breaking yesterday, but we probably knew about it Thursday. But Joe Burrow to miss the rest of the regular season after tearing a ligament in his wrist after Thursday night football. Is it time to say he might be injury prone?
I think it still might be early in his career. But he has, even this season, he started the season injured. But he was still on the field, still pushing through for the most part.
I know his knee injury is rookie year. That's not really a injury-prone type of injury. Like anybody's gonna get hurt doing that. But you have, a calf injury?
You have to think early in his career. He's still young in his career, but he's been hit a lot.
Yeah.
I think they've probably set records for sacks allowed in a game on him. Some of his first couple seasons in the league.
And that's why my Madden GM brain says never, unless you have that generational quarterback and you have to draft him, never take your build your team around. Like if you win 1 or 2 games, start drafting because you get this quarterback, which he may just be in a bad situation. We've seen so many, we'll say flop or bust when they just play for terrible teams. Yeah. But build your team first and then go get that quarterback. But neither here nor there. But
yeah, the first thing I thought though was all the fantasy owners. When you have somebody like him who's I don't know, was he a top 10 quarterback? Would we say that right now in the league? He's definitely.
I don't know about this.
I don't know what his rostered. Surely he's rostered like 95% in fantasy.
I don't let one season really I would still consider Josh Allen a top 10 quarterback, even though he's just having a terrible year.
Yeah.
You would have to see consistency when in this situation. So I still I still consider him a top 10. I own him in one of my leagues. Own him. That sounds so. I have him on my roster in one of my leagues. That's kind of like my secondary quarterback. Thursday night was a rough night for me in fantasy because I had Mark Andrews also, as we talked about.
Andrews as well. When he went out, that was devastating. What do you have the injury report on him? I mean, he's out for the season.
Yeah,
a pretty serious ankle injury. I mean,
I don't know if it's too early to say. I know it won't change because it's a moneymaker, but it's possibly Thursday night football coming back after 5 days to play, or I assume 5 days. I don't know. I guess they just played last Sunday. I don't know. 2 major season-ending injuries.
Yeah, I think for sure that's
because ligament, that can be something that
stress
over a quick. It's not like he had a freak injury. A guy landed on his leg. He broke his, whatever. And you're like, well, that has nothing to do with playing. Oh, yeah, that can.
Football's definitely, especially at the professional level, different than most sports. I mean, you think about basketball, that's a pretty rigorous sport, and they're doing it day in and day out. But they're also not taking full out contact.
Yeah, baseball's like hockey and basketball has so many games. You're constantly moving. Like I know in high school, our coach would joke around and when you were getting lazy or slow, it's like you just go play in the football team. You run for 15 seconds and you get a rest for 30 seconds, which obviously over exaggeration because you're getting hit. You're more physical.
Yeah.
Basketball.
People are literally teeing off on you in football, especially at the professional level. I mean, you're getting teed off on every single play. I think I don't like it. I think even the times when you have Thanksgiving Day, which I love Thanksgiving Day games.
That's like a one-off though.
But the one-offs, but it's such a short turnaround anyways. There's always weird things that these teams have to deal with as far as load management. And, how do what if they play on Sunday, then they play on Thursday, and then a lot of times you see them play again on that next Thursday is a pretty common thing, but just because of the spacing, these Landen games, and we've talked about that before too, but it puts these teams in a predicament when they're trying to load manage players as far as not overuse and not overwork, which you said. I mean,
it's something the NFL's looking into because Joe Burrow wasn't on the injury report, but he was obviously dealing with something before the game, which, after 5 days, I mean, they're dealing with so much as, when they talk about, hey, we're playing Monday night and then playing Sunday night, and they talk about, hey, it throws your whole week off just from that one day because, I mean, normally Monday is an off day anyways, but you still have to have that off day, and then Tuesdays, this day, and it throws your schedule on. Now, take away 3 days. Is that 3 days? 1, 2, Sunday, Saturday. Yeah, 3 days away from that. Or Thursday's your game day. You have to have your off day on Monday, so you're really just having 2 days, and I know the other team has to prepare the same way, and then possibly one of the teams has to travel, if not both. So you have a travel day, mixed in there in between.
Yeah.
So not only do you not have your normal rest, your normal game planning, it just throws everything off. And when you're game planning for this, and that's why we see a lot of sloppy matchups on Thursday night football. Not because they're bad matchups, it's just because they don't have the same time to game plan either team. And then obviously,
and to recover from their ailments.
Yeah. And not even, exactly. Not even like if they get injured. I mean, if you've never played football before, forget high school, just college and professional, you're sore the next day.
Mm-hmm.
If you get hit, that's like a mini car wreck. That's how many you go through. So if running backs go through 30 of those a game.
Yeah.
Anytime maybe besides kickers and punters, maybe receivers get the less bruit of it, depending on how many times they get tackled, how many times they get targeted. But quarterback for sure is getting hit a lot, and between travel and obviously when they practice, they don't really tackle or
and I'm
hit
completely
anymore.
on board with not having these Thursday night games.
As a fan, it's fun, but
is it just me when you watch it on Prime that the screen is dark? Is that just me? Is it just my TV that it's not as bright
honestly,
and vibrant?
I can't. I used to watch it. I haven't watched a Thursday night game this season.
I watched this Thursday's.
If the Cowboys aren't on it.
For the most part, I watched the game, but
yeah,
I turn it on and it looks so dull and dark. Like, I don't know what it is with Prime and their broadcast.
I want to say because it's streaming, but I have YouTube TV, and that's, YouTube TV to me,
Oh, it's
is
great.
exactly the same. It's streaming. That's exactly what it
The
is.
picture's great. The quality's great. Yeah, maybe it's just me. But back to the injuries. I mean, this year's been a weird year for injuries. Justin
Maybe
Jefferson's been out.
6 starting quarterbacks are out for the season.
Yeah.
Well, if you count Aaron Rodgers, he says he's going to be back in December. Well,
Yeah,
I don't know about that. I don't know. If he does, there's going to be a lot of people trying some weird ass,
Whatever he's doing.
yeah, whatever, going on retreats and tripping balls
Sitting
or whatever.
in a dark closet by yourself for a day.
Yeah, if he comes back in December from a torn Achilles, I mean, he's going to.
I mean, he is ahead of schedule. He's
already walking without crutches.
Yeah, I mean, he was in a walking boot fast. He was, and I think the timetable he's saying he's going to come back, that's actually a time that he could be released to train and condition.
Yeah.
But I would be I mean, we're talking about the NFL. The top athletes in the world playing.
Yeah.
I don't.
Watson's out. Kirk Cousins is out. Obviously, Joe Burrow is out.
Kirk Cousins being out might have helped them better.
Yeah,
I think they got a better quarterback.
Played better with Josh Dobbs.
So Josh Dobbs started the season on the Browns. So the Browns might be, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but the Browns might be like, dang, we had him, and now who's their starting quarterback now? They might have thrown, not to overhype Josh Dobbs, but he's been doing a solid job, and I think the Vikings make the playoffs because of him. I don't know if they can do anything, because they have a decent team.
He's one of these late bloomers. I think was he drafted by the Steelers, by Pittsburgh?
Yeah, no, he's Jags.
He's played for Jacksonville. He's played for Pittsburgh.
I think he was drafted out of college to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he played in like 3 or 4 different teams last season, and he's obviously been on 3 teams.
I mean,
this
he's been
season.
in the league for a few years now.
Yeah,
I mean, he's from a University of Tennessee quarterback. I've actually been following him quite a while since his University of Tennessee days. I mean, he looked good in college. He looked like
he was the quarterback when they upset Bama, I think, a couple years ago.
Hooker, well, that was last year when
that was
Hooker.
But I think it was like.
But yeah, they've done
years
it a
ago
couple
that
of
they
times.
beat Bama with him.
Because Hooker was right after
him,
Dobbs.
I think so. Yeah, I mean he's proven that you just stay in the league and you just consistently be a good backup. He looks like he's a starting quarterback.
He looks kind of like
when he faced the Cowboys this year. When he was
and
in
even
Arizona,
last year they beat him last year against the Titans, but they, he obviously they struggled a little bit, but he's kind of had that Fitzmagic vibe maybe.
Yeah. Man, he's an actual rocket scientist.
Yeah, he went. I think he has his master's.
Yeah,
going after his doctorate or something like that. It's
he's like an aerophysicist or something.
Yeah, maybe that comes into play, like just being smarter
than being smart. Yeah, being able to process data.
Jumping over to baseball, a lot of awards. I don't know if I like the way they're doing awards. I don't remember it being like this. Maybe it has, but like every day they're announcing
something
different awards. But Shohei Ohtani wins AL MVP, obviously. Acuna Jr., NL, no big surprise there. We thought maybe there might be an upset in AL because Ohtani just was injured and missed a lot of the season.
And this is only supposed to be based on regular season, even though they wait until
I know your mind kind of runs because you're like, well, if you count the playoffs, Seager has a lot better shot than he did
Seager
before.
Came in second and Simeon came in third in the voting.
And can you imagine if Ohtani is a Ranger next year? Just the top 3. Of course, won't pitch till 2025.
Is rumored to be. I mean, I don't know where he fits in this.
I mean,
he's playing in the field, fitting in this lineup.
DH, and then they have that opportunity as a decent backup outfielder because outfield, I think they're good for the next 10 years. They're like, outside of Ohtani, there's no free agent they should target in the outfield because you have Evan Carter, Garcia, Taveras, and then you have Langford in waiting, who will probably come up at some point this year. And I think having that 5th outfielder for just random injury or just random rest days, who at his level, like I'm not going to say he's an all-star right fielder. He's an all-star player, but he's a very, very capable, probably one of your best backup outfielders.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't even know, can he play out? Like,
I don't know when
with Tommy John surgery, obviously he can't pitch, but like, what are his limitations playing in the outfield? Is it like, okay, if it's a close play, just don't try to gun him down from the outfield. I know Ohtani's not really that kind
I
of.
don't think you
know.
put him in the field at all unless he's fully released.
I don't-
You saw how
I don't
Harper
think you
came
can.
back. You know, he
He's
transitioned
playing
to first base.
full time now.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I mean, because you don't need him, because your outfield's set fine. I mean, I know you're
let's look
paying
at
a lot of
the
money,
future when
but you're talking about the future of being a pitcher.
But if he is a pitcher, but if it can't play right field, that's a situation you can put Garcia as the DH. They can alternate DH spot and playing right field.
But just throwing Ohtani into that lineup would. I don't even
there's
know.
even
Obviously, Ohtani would probably bat
obviously
third.
when a
but
team comes
who
off
knows?
when a team comes off of a World Series win, all the big free agent names start getting,
And it's
flooded
weird.
around
The
there.
Rangers, I mean, obviously they just won the championship, so they're going to be rumored for everyone, and probably rightfully so. Every team, every player is like, sure, I'll go play for the Rangers. Like, that's if we get things right, I'll consider them. But it's weird that the Rangers are a weird franchise where they're always kind of getting rumored to have big stars, and then it never really pans out. And I'm going to say never. Obviously, it's Simeon and
Clayton
Seager.
Kershaw's rumored here. I don't know if you really want him. I mean, personally, I think he's washed up. I don't think he's not the guy.
Really old, and he's gonna want money.
And they're gonna. I mean, they're gonna get. They've had Snell rumored. I mean, there's like every top pitcher. They've
what
rumored to
about,
come to the Rangers.
The pitcher's pitching in Japan now.
Oh yeah, I can't.
Oh,
I'm not even gonna try. I've been trying to practice.
No
his name.
clue. No,
No.
Come here.
I'm talking about the
The American one.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's-
Bauer.
Bauer.
Yeah.
Oh
Trevor
yeah,
Bauer.
Okay, Trevor Bauer. Yeah, you say that, and it makes me think of the old Trevor Bauer.
But he's been pitching well. I mean, is that a possibility that you bring?
I think there's so many options, and then the Rangers
able to get
obviously
reinstated.
will obviously.
I think they should target at least one of these top name pitchers. I think that helps. I mean, you saw with this pitching staff, they did what they had to do. Was that managing? Probably so. How you manage these guys, how you coach them up to come into these situations. So you can do it with, I mean, possibly the weakest bullpen, at least in the playoffs, for a playoff team, and they get the job done. So I think a few missing pieces here. And
I think
what
you
about
signed-
DeGrom? When does he come back? Late
best
season?
case August. So I
you're
think you're
looking at
just
another-
thinking, get him
Get
rehabbing to the playoffs.
Which they didn't have him at most all season last year.
No,
So.
and that's why. I mean, we can get to it later about. a different show about buying a championship where, like, really you bought DeGrom, but DeGrom didn't help you whatsoever in this championship.
I mean, it was definitely a race with the offense. And do other teams mimic that? Do other teams think, let's just stack? Of course, I mean, it's not that the Rangers stacked. Yeah, they brought in Simeon and Seager, but other than that, this is a prospect team. They built this team.
Pretty much. I mean,
Not necessarily just through their farm system, but a lot of trades,
and just development.
I mean,
they
the
bought-
Mets last offseason spent the most ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know injuries played a part in that, but they didn't even make the playoffs. Yankees and Dodgers do it all the time, though. The top, the top 5 spending teams outside of the Rangers, I think the Rangers were 5th, but all the 5 top spending teams outside of the Rangers, nobody made the playoffs. You saw what happened in San Diego.
Yeah.
It's not just buying; it's you have to make it work.
Yeah.
But we could talk about that at a different time. But the Rangers, I think there's so many options. I think they're going to go out and get a blockbuster signing for a starting pitcher.
For Texas to do.
I mean, considering you just won the World Series and you have a pretty big window, at least 3-year
honestly,
window.
All of Texas. I mean, you're talking about all the Dallas teams: the Cowboys, the Mavericks, the Rangers. I mean, the Stars. I guess
Stars are favored. I mean, favorites to make the Stanley Cup Finals.
You're
Mavericks,
talking about
we'll see.
teams that don't go get blockbusters. We don't bring in these top free agents. These stars don't come here.
I think we're seeing something different though, because of the Rangers, that they haven't been successful at the new stadium, and before it was a downside to play in Texas with the Heat, especially pitchers. And now you see that change because you have the stadium, and now obviously competing, you have a championship.
And you can tell this is a fun team. I mean, these guys truly are having fun. That's credit to Bruce Bochy.
Yeah, no, obviously, and Bruce Bochy's already said he's going to come back. I don't know what his long-term plan is, if he's just like year by year, like he could retire after next season, or what the deal is. I don't know. I don't think he has that plan. I was surprised when they announced he was coming back. Not that because he was coming back, but I was like, I didn't know that was even on the table. I thought he was going to be here for a few years, but we'll see. Obviously, not take that for granted. Odd stat, really weird stat, and kind of embarrassing, staying in the AL West, because Ohtani just won his second straight MVP. You obviously have Trout won a couple of MVPs. The Angels have 5 more MVPs than playoff wins in the last 10 years.
5 more
MVP awards than playoff wins in the last 10 years.
So maybe we don't want MVPs here.
Yeah, I don't know how many MVPs you have. 4 MVPs for the Rangers. Josh Hamilton, Juan Gonzalez won a couple.
Pudge won one.
Pudge, and like Royce Clayton.
Alex Rodriguez.
Okay, so we've had a few. And then Josh Hamilton's really the only. I guess Juan Gonzalez won when they were winning in the 90s. But obviously A-Rod, they didn't win. They didn't do it. I think they finished in last place most of those years. But yeah, Ohtani winning, and that's what people have a deal with of MVP should be on a winning team. I don't know if you want to, get down to it, in most valuable player, then obviously it's not really the most valuable player. It's the best player. Because then you have to talk about, well, how much do they cost? How much their, production. But
obviously his production, even in losing games, superseded.
Yeah, there's no way you couldn't, even with an injury, there's no way you couldn't give him.
If it's only based on regular season stats, which apparently it is, yes. If you take into account, which then I know it's biased then because not everyone is in the playoffs. If you look at playoffs, you got a huge argument for Seager,
and that's weird. That's weird. Why they wait till the end, because like NFL, they have it on their awards night before the Super Bowl or the weekend of the Pro Bowl, I think. That's weird that they wait even so long. It's been a couple of weeks after the World Series, and that's like in our mind. But I don't know. Have these votes already been placed? Like, did they already vote and they just wait to announce it? Because even the baseball writers who vote for this have to have some bias in their head. It's like sitting in court and the judge says, "Jury, disregard what they do." Like, you can't disregard what they just said. It's like, at least maybe I should never be in a jury trial because I'd be a juror in a trial, because like I can't just disregard what Corey Seager did. Of course, Corey Seager played in big moments. His team, rightfully so, his team put him in big moments. He was a big part of that as well. And it's easy to see somebody who hit 5 or 6 home runs during the span of the playoffs, really big home runs, especially in the World Series.
The timing of them.
The timing of the home runs, but then at the same point, then if you were going to go with that argument, you would have to probably knock Simeon out of that. He had one of the, his probably best career regular season with a terrible postseason, except for Game 5, maybe Game 4. Although he had like an 8-game hitting streak within all that, but he was hitting under 200 most of the time until he hit the final home run.
Which I think is really important to look at that. We look at that batting average sometimes can be a lie. You look at that and he's like, oh, he's only hitting 200.
And Evan Carter was hitting 400 at some point, but it's very limited.
But you're looking at it and saying, well, but he had a 9-game hitting streak. Well, you think if he's on a 9 or whatever it was, if he's got on a hitting streak, how's he only batting 200? Like
going like he gets one hit, and that's
but
it,
that's all you need to get. But you don't.
Well,
you're
the
not
first
taking into account when this guy this guy. It's not like he was sitting there striking out and missing. He was blasting baseballs.
he was.
They were just
striking
getting
out a lot, though.
They were getting caught. he
but
he
a
was
lot
hitting balls. He wasn't
his
striking out
deal was coming up, and like he was popping it up a lot. Like that was like he was stuck in that deal. But I guess like the first few games in Tampa, maybe in Baltimore, he just didn't get any hits.
That's just where that stat line of a batting average really does throw you off.
Well, in Houston, he went 0 for 5 2 games in a row. So you don't normally get, he doesn't get 5 more chances in that series to make that up.
Yeah.
He's 0 for 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in that 9-game hitting streak, 8
But
games,
that's
7 game,
why
whatever
it's
it
so
was, he's
important.
probably hitting 300.
You know,
but
especially
over.
for young players, it's so important not to chase that batting average and not your parents. Oh yeah, he's
And now,
batting
yeah, now
800.
batting average is
But the thing is-
slightly less important. You're looking at OPS
Yeah,
and
there's
slugging
a lot more
percentage
analytics.
now.
But the thing is the number one stat that should be kept: wins and losses.
Yeah.
What did you do to help your team win? And that stat right there tells you, like, Simeon was not a small part to this. You know, he might have had one of the worst averages in this lineup in the playoffs, but he was one of the biggest parts to
So
it. It's all about
I think
the
it was
timing.
in Houston, and it was Lowe that did it. But it was like that 15 pitch at bat. It kind of like just opened up the game, and then he ended up singling, maybe even a double. But just because he made him, because it started off a big inning where he got a hit, and then a home run, and then a hit, and another home run. I think it was against Houston, might have been against Baltimore, but it just completely changed the game. And it's stuff like that, like putting the ball into play, like just making him pitch. I think it's like a 5 pitch at bat is kind of like a draw. Like whether you get a hit or not, like if you're going to strike out or get out, whatever, a pitcher's fine. Okay, if we give 5 pitches, the batter's in his mind, if I'm not going to get a hit, at least make him throw 5 pitches, and that's kind of your draw. Anything over 5, the batter wins regardless. And then obviously, and then that's why Simeon and even Seager to an extent was an issue because not an issue because they would have a lot of first pitch hits, and even Seager, that big home run in the ALCS was on the first pitch, but they're trying to get out of that slump. Both of them had a slump most of the playoffs where they're swinging at that first pitch, and then it's terrible when you pop out at that first pitch or second pitch because now it's a double whammy. You didn't get on base, but you just bailed the pitcher out, and now he only has two pitches on his ledger.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Acuna too.
Acuna. I mean, what do you have?
How
A
many stolen
devastating
bases did he
injury 2021. Did he have like a torn ACL in 2021?
Yeah, he tore his ACL.
And then he goes to, I don't know how many, first player ever with the amount of hits, stolen bases, and home runs.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, home runs and stolen bases.
I mean,
But
that guy really is a freak.
they,
And to come back from that injury and come back
the
so dominant.
first time ever you had both AL, NL MVPs unanimous. And rightfully so.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
I can't.
you
can't-
can.
I don't think you can discredit either of them, honestly.
You can say
It's a
Seager
stretch
because
on-
of the World Series run. Obviously, you're not supposed to, but it was kind of like Judge because he made history last year. You had to give him the MVP, or you're supposed to give him the MVP. Ohtani, because of what he did pitching, like basically being two players, he was, he kept getting injured and didn't pitch a whole lot, but his pitching numbers were solid. But you put Corey Seager up to pitch, like probably not, like I don't know if Corey Seager's ever pitched, but you're not getting the same numbers as Ohtani was getting, any MVP candidate. And then on top of that, he was just leading the league in home runs most of the season. And then Acuna just doing what he was doing. It was
So 337, 41 home runs, 106 RBIs, over a 1 OPS, 73 stolen bases.
73 stolen
Only caught
bases.
stealing 14 times.
73 stolen
He's an
bases.
aggressive runner, and man, that guy can move.
He had an 8.1 WAR with a 4.19 slugging, or 5.596 slugging.
Yeah, I mean those are MVP stats.
He did that one other time, and that was in 2021. That was a shortened season. It was the last time he slugged that high, and it's the exact same.
So you kind of
Seager-
throw
And
those
Seager
numbers.
really got
Yeah.
his MVP by getting the World Series MVP. I mean that.
2-time.
I think MVP needs to be changed. The name of. I
Yeah.
don't think it should be most valuable player. I think it should be most valued player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Because if you're thinking about the most valuable player, it's a team that makes the playoffs. It's the best player on the team that makes the playoffs.
yeah, and then you technically throw in that word value, which
Yeah.
we all get. It's the best player.
When it's the most valued player, it's okay. Whoever. That's kinda
And
who
once
plays the best.
Ohtani comes
Yeah,
back,
you're right because I mean even if Ohtani doesn't get hurt, that team's still not making the playoffs.
If
so is
they-
he
they
really? How
suck.
valuable really was he? If you're using
Yeah,
that term,
you take him out, they
And-
still suck.
yeah.
And if you pay Ohtani $50 million a year, which he's probably going to get paid, and in 2025 when he pitches again, if he's if he's just a normal pitcher, like don't even say an all-star pitcher, if he's a normal pitcher and then hitting 40 home runs, like he's by default the most valuable player because he's getting paid $50 million, but he has, he's playing for probably
He's only
a
taking
$20
one
million
roster slot for
he's
two
probably
positions.
a $20 million pitcher,
Yeah.
which he's been more than that. I'm just downgrading him a little bit with injury. If he pitches, let's say he's not what he was, but he's a $20 million pitcher,
Especially his first
and
year
then a
back.
$40-50 million hitter. And that's why, like, I don't care, pay him whatever. Like, if the Rangers get him for $60 million, like, damn, that's a lot. But
in the Rangers' eyes and ownership's eyes, and I think what they were just talking like, and I heard this about Seager and Simeon, the money they spent on them, that they've made their money back. They weren't sure they would, but
With
they did
Ohtani-
through the World Series and through the marketing and like Ohtani off the field, you're going to get
Ohtani,
You're going to make your
there
money
there
back
was a
whatever
number
you-
saying Ohtani would really cost about $17 million a year because you're making money with jersey sales and all kinds of stuff. And Ohtani's already making more money. Like if he made $50 million a year, that wouldn't be as much as he's making off the field anyway. So
Ohtani's
money's
a
not
global star.
Yeah.
You take all the money that the Rangers made this year from just making the playoffs. Like
Yeah.
you take the money they made when
We
they
saw
got
those
announced
those
that they made
lines
the
in the
wild card.
ALCS and World Series. I mean, how many dollars do they make off per shirt? Like you just said, how much money
Yeah.
they made just on apparel. Like I walked in and spent almost $200 after the ALCS,
Twice.
over $200. Yeah,
World
So-
Series.
and I don't really spend. Like I'll have a jersey, a hat, and that'll last me a while. Man, I have 2 shirts in there, 2 hats. Just bought another jersey. And I don't even spend that much. I don't consider myself spending much on apparel. Like everybody who spent that money, they made that money back. And the Rangers, unofficially, but the Rangers were prepared to not be outbid when trading for Ohtani. Like they made the decision, again unofficially, that we weren't going to be outbid trade wise with prospect. We were going to get him if that were the case.
Yeah.
But he never came to market. Now, if they have that mindset, that's good if you're wanting to get him. But if they have that mindset, they were planning on, you would think, re-signing him. Why would you just no matter what, I'm going to outbid whoever for one run? Because they won the World Series. I don't think they were thinking that.
But this team isn't a one and done team. I mean, this is a long-term team. I mean, this team's not going to look drastically different outside of whatever stars you sign in free agency this year. This team's not going to look drastically different.
No.
This lineup will basically be the same, except you're going to have a guy it's going to look the same as their playoff lineup did. You're going to have a guy like Evan Carter's going to be an everyday guy now. He proved that.
Yeah.
And you have, I don't know where they're, with Kumar Rocker and
Leiter.
pitching. Yeah, Leiter. I don't know how close they are. I don't think they have to worry about that right now. They have an overabundance of pitching, even though Scherzer, who knows how good he is. DeGrom, who knows? They're probably going to go out and get another one. Maybe Montgomery stays. I don't know their mindset and budget where we'll get Montgomery and Snell or whatever. I have no clue. Maybe that changes if they don't get Ohtani. Does Ohtani sign before all these other players? It doesn't seem like they're done spending. They have a window right now, whether you go out and buy. Like if they don't make any big moves, I still think they have a good chance. They made a crazy run. They're not going to be they're Vegas has them second right now, and I'm assuming Vegas thinks they're going to do stuff in the offseason. But they're still going to be contenders if they re-sign Montgomery and they keep relatively the same roster, which we know they're not, and decide we're going to fix the bullpen with the trade deadline. But I think they're going to go out and they're going to be favored in the AL West next year because I think they're going to make some moves. I don't know what Houston's going to do. They might make some moves too. But they're going to be favored.
It's kind of on the downslide. They've got a lot of free agents that will be. I don't know if they lose a lot this year, but I think next year.
I think you're going to see it.
Altuve, those guys.
It just depends what Houston, because Houston's had a good run over the last 7-8 years with a couple of World Series wins. Another World Series, did they go 4 times or 3 times? I know they lost to Washington. I think they just went 3 times. But they went from the worst, and they built up through their farm system, signed key free agents at the right time, made the trades, went on a run this year, where they have a decent farm system, but they gave up a lot to get Verlander back in there, where they might see what happens this year, maybe make a big run at it this year. And I don't know. They may blow it all up, or they may, keep retooling and going.
I think the big thing with Ohtani's, like, it's not like Mike Trout. Like, if you're bidding on Mike Trout, you're bidding on the player himself. With Ohtani, you're bidding on a whole other market on the other side of the world. You're bidding on Japan's going to start playing your games now because they have their guy now in right. Your team. Like, you're like, you have to think about the market that you're going to get, where, like, when you go to Japan and China, all you see is, like, baseball-wise, really, is Shohei Ohtani stuff, Dodgers stuff.
And the Rangers got a little bit of that when they signed Yu Darvish. Yeah. I think that helps them, that they see the value there. But they also saw that it works, and I'm sure, Darvish publicly says he loved it here at the time, and amenities were good for him. And
they just didn't really have the competitive teams that really warranted.
Yeah, Yu Darvish came in near the end. They were competitive in 2012, 2013.
We say not competitive, but we're making the playoffs. We're just getting knocked out by the Blue Jays every
And
year.
You were making playoff runs.
You
were in there from 2010 to 2016.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to warrant you to re-sign Darvish, which is why.
No. Because Yu Darvish wasn't. They knew that for the money, it wasn't going to work out, and they traded him. And it didn't work out, but you did the Rangers made the right decision there, as in the Angels did not trade Ohtani, and now you see what. In fact, they traded away to get a lot back.
Yeah.
To make a run, and it just didn't work. I think it was too little, too late for them, because we're talking about 5 more MVPs and playoff wins, and we've already talked about Trout not having that opportunity in the playoffs. And Ohtani figures out he's going to do. Trout decided to sign. I don't know if Trout's going to be traded or what the deal is.
Of the Angels ownership in this situation. They
went out and got.
I think would have made a completely different. Like, why would you not trade Ohtani?
Because
your team's not built to keep Ohtani around. The same thing we talked about this Yu Darvish deal. Like, you're going to let him go. At least try to get something back, some prospects, something.
You have a huge name player. You can get
because it's not
enough
like
people to rebuild your team, and you can go make the playoffs next year.
It's not like the A's, because the Angels showed a history of doing something. They went and got Josh Hamilton and Albert Pujols in that run. It looked like they were a pretty decent team. I think that was very early in Trout's career. So I don't know. I don't know what they were. I'd be interested in going back and looking where they sit payroll-wise. Because they look at the team. They're not a small market team in any sense. They're, Los Angeles, even if it's just Anaheim.
Second tier team to the Dodgers in Los Angeles, but yeah.
But they're still in the market. Like, obviously, you go to LA, you're not seeing they're like the Chargers, they're like the Clippers. That I think that's a story we need to do research on. Talk about out of the Clippers, just in LA, the second, because LA is not a big. Obviously, they're a big sports market, but outside of the Lakers, there's not a lot of. They have issues filling the stadium for the Rams, even for USC and UCLA. Gosh, we're just going on different tangents here. But as some teams, like, you can even throw UCLA as a secondary team, because I consider them a pretty good power football school.
Yeah.
Speaking of college football, Landen, get ready to play. It'd be clip 1. There's obviously issues with sign stealing, which we'll get in a little bit. I know it brought up this question interview with Steve Sarkisian, the Longhorns head coach, about communicating helmets radio. Go ahead and mute and then play.
Would you like to see helmet radios?
Yes, please.
Okay, in college
everybody
football.
Write an article about why doesn't college football have coach-to-player communication? So I don't have to deal with sign stealing and And I spend half my week, changing signals and signs rather than coaching the game of football. There's no shortage of money in college football, clearly. So that whole idea that it's a competitive disadvantage for those that can't do it, or that stadiums aren't equipped to have that type of technology, I don't buy it. Every time I turn on anything late at night and we're talking about college football, if not the first topic, the second topic is we're talking about sign stealing. And our game is way too good. There's too many good stories going on right now in college football that's at the forefront of what we're doing.
So obviously, like, he couldn't even get the question out before Sark was like, yes, please. And I agree with him.
And we've heard this before too. This isn't the first time that coaches have publicly come out. Now, why this can't get voted across, I don't know.
I agree that if you can't have it across the board, it would put up a competitive disadvantage. Obviously, more than likely for the team that's already competitive, competitively at an advantage, because you're talking about money there. And I agree that there's so much money in college football, and I know not every college is making a ton of money, but even teams, at least in Division I, who aren't doing great, are still making money to this. And then if it's a situation where everybody has it or nobody has it, I mean, obviously Texas and Alabama and all these big schools already have that capability and already have the money. Just as the NCAA, just pay for the other one. Like, just make it a Division I thing.
Oh, there's plenty of money in the NCAA to make this. I mean, we've been inside these high school stadiums with our Friday night football.
Yeah.
I think even a high school stadium is probably equipped for something like this.
So,
like, what is the big deal?
So Texas high school football, the UIL, they don't have it because they're following the rules of the NCAA, which makes sense because you don't want to have your star quarterback.
We've seen the technology in these stadiums. Like,
it's there.
Not that big of a deal to add this in.
Comparing, like, you're saying Texas high school football compared to Delaware college football, the stadiums, capacity wise may be pretty similar, but a lot nicer. But the reason they don't have, they follow the college rules is because you don't want your star quarterback at South Lake Carroll, Allen, Alito, these wealthier schools to already have that technology. This is how we're communicating. And then they go to a school that doesn't have that. And then you're like, that kind of sets that kid back at a disadvantage. Now he has to learn, obviously, playing with better competition, he's got to learn something different.
So what is the technology that they don't have that is holding them back from using?
I don't know the equipment. I know I've heard part of it when they were having issue. All away teams always had issues against the Patriots in New England, where our headsets aren't working in critical times. Honestly, I'm not an engineer. I don't know what it's just setting your school. It probably $30,000. I don't know, something like you set up responders, antennas. I have no clue, but and I don't know how much it would cost. I understand that in high school, but I think most high schools, our local high school here, whose team is not very good, I think they have the technology and they probably have the money, but
there's no reason though that college football can't afford to do this. Like, there's more money in college football than there is in the NFL, the NBA, there is so much money here. There's so many boosters. Why can't they put in a collective fund? I mean, for God's sakes, the NCAA themselves are making so much money off these kids. They could afford to go in to each stadium and put this in. Yeah, you're going to have the smaller schools that probably couldn't afford that. Why don't we put into one fund and let's do it across the board? Let's get all college football this technology and make sure. I mean, I agree with it. I think you're going to get a better game.
Texas A&M is spending $90 million to get rid of it.
Yeah, I don't know if we can throw extra.
I know that's a bad example because A&M has, probably unlimited.
What's funny though is they got like a $90,000 check and they presented it at halftime of that game, and then they used that check probably to buy them off.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I mean that's where that money. That's where the money comes from. They got boosters.
A free $20 million.
That's where all the money comes from is boosters. You're talking about. I mean, obviously the money of ticket sales and apparel and crap. I mean, obviously they're not giving it to the.
I mean, what? The players. 105,000 people at that Mississippi State game. They're not worried.
How
about
much?
the money
How
right
much?
now.
What's the cheapest ticket? You probably find like a $50 standing room ticket.
Yeah, you're sitting at the top.
Depending
of the
on which
field.
game it is.
Yeah.
So you're let's just say that's a cheap. Forget the $5,000 50-yard line front row. So 100,000 times 50. You're talking. Is that $5 million times five?
Something like
$5 million just in ticket sales.
Again.
Again, that's A&M, and we're not talking about if they flip this tomorrow and they said there's rule schools have to do it. No team in the Big 12 and the SEC and the whatever left of the Pac-12, the Big 10, whatever, they're not going to have any issue.
No.
And I think you make it a Division I rule.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, none of the Power 5,
I mean, you might even throw in like the Big East in there. Like I doubt they're gonna not.
No, I think they've got it.
Honestly, I don't know.
major?
I'm just spitballing, completely random number. I'm thinking 30,000 or 40,000 is how much it would cost to equip your stadium, which is probably already equipped in one sense or another. I don't know the technology, but if you have it set up where you have cameras that are set up and mics and everything else for a TV broadcast,
you already have the technology from the coaches to the booth. You're only talking about making this connection and giving a one.
And what is it? What is it? The same as the NFL?
A helmet.
One the quarterback and one player on the defense.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if they would do that. They would.
I don't even think it has to be the quarterback. I think it's just one person on offense, one
Well,
person
yeah,
on
but
defense.
obviously they're talking about the quarterback. All you have to do is make that connection, and you're talking about. He made a great point, and this is why he jumped to it so quickly about sign stealing, and that's why people want to bring, say it's not a big deal. They're not doing anything illegal. It's just kind of around, and obviously Texas, hasn't played Michigan. I know they're playing them coming up. I think next year they have a schedule rotating, but they haven't been playing these teams. And then Sark's like, let's do it.
Well,
we don't need to sign steal.
He spends too much time in his week just changing up all of his signs and his signals
because they have.
And he's not actually coaching these guys up. Yeah, exactly.
He's spending a lot of time, and
I think you get a better game because these guys can spend more time actually coaching.
And going to that deal, it's Michigan's getting a little closer. Like I think it's becoming more real. I'm surprised it's happening this quickly. I was thinking 3 years down the road they might, and that it might be like a Penn State type thing, like we're vacating these wins or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously, the coach has been suspended a few games by the Big Ten, not even by the NCAA. It's kind of like we're just going to do it real quick, thinking that's when you do your self discipline. You're like, hopefully that's enough, and we're not, because the Big Ten doesn't want Michigan suffering any. And unfortunately for NCAA or for all of college football, Michigan's might be the best team, regardless of sign stealing. I don't know. They're a very talented team, and without it, they're one of the best teams. They're ranked third in the playoff. I think they're third in the playoff behind Georgia and Ohio State. And I think what college football wants more than anything is just let Michigan lose or let Ohio State beat Michigan. Like, let's not have to worry about this.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to expedite the whole process for that reason, so they don't have a tainted college football playoff.
Yeah.
Because now it was just kind of, we knew something was going on, but to what extent?
But again, sign stealing, I mean, it's public. It's not like you're literally these signs are public. Anybody can see the signs.
We talked about it
a
few episodes ago. Is where's the line? It's what level of effort do you put into it? We talked about the Astros of Michigan.
I mean, by rule, did they break?
I don't know. Obviously, they had an employee, maybe multiple employees, go to future opponents' games with the camera and film their. I don't know what rule it
just
breaks.
Like we heard in this interview with Texas, like he's saying we change our signs every week. I mean, is that not the same across college football? I mean, I would just think it is.
Did they change their signs every week before this came out?
I don't know.
The NCAA has let Michigan know they've obtained evidence that a Michigan booster helps fund the impermissible sign stealing operation from a former Michigan staff member.
That's just scouting. That's just part of scouting, right?
So now if you send a guy to go film the game to get film on them,
Filming.
he is filming the game, And the sideline is in the background, and you can see all the stuff.
I think you should have been illegal. I think because this wasn't such a big deal.
Blur out their sideline.
I think at the time, because this isn't a big deal that we haven't. Ridiculous. I think we haven't had this on the forefront of. There's probably not a rule because it hasn't been an issue before. And maybe the guy was a little too obvious with it. I
imagine that this hasn't been a thing though. Like
obviously the
cameras came out, have they
the
not
footage
been trying to use them?
I mean,
everyone's looking for a competitive.
How many? I mean, they cover their mouth when they talk. I haven't. Maybe back in the day there was lip reading issues, but I think they must have obtained footage of this, and maybe the entire time he had the camera pointed at the sideline, and that's like okay. And now we're thinking hindsight's 2020 again, like don't. Just point the camera there, but I think for key moments, you're pointing the camera there. And again, just like we talked about the Astros in baseball, it's what level of effort do you go to? Obviously, the second baseman or a runner on second is watching the seat, and then if he holds up a finger, that's okay. Apparently,
high school level,
it's once you put a camera or you use a camera in the center field to catch it, and then you're banging on trash cans. And then allegedly, even after that, having buzzers and all kinds of stuff.
Is it illegal or there's sanctions against them saying, hey, this is what's running. Hey, quarterback sneak. Like, what is the, when I played football, you would pick up on those things and you would know, and you're communicating, hey, they're running the ball here. They're going right there. That's where they're running the ball. Like, there was, it happens in the NFL, and these guys have to audible out of them.
Again, it seems that it's an issue with recording it. It's like, because you have proof of it, because somebody's complained about it, and they go and look into it. Now you have a booster that's funded it, specifically funded that. Like, forget buying kids cars and all kinds of stuff what they did before.
But the thing is you still have to be talented, and you still have to execute.
Yeah,
like. Tony Romo calls 90% of the plays that this is what's coming.
True.
So you can't tell me Tony Romo's the only guy in the NFL that knows. Hold on, listen.
Yeah.
That knows this play is coming. I guarantee you, these linebackers, these defensive, they know what play's coming. You know teams' tendencies. You know when a team's going to throw on a third down. This is what that's scouting. I did it at the high school level. We would do that, and we would know these are the 5 plays they may run in this down and distance at this time. We're calling the defense to this. You still have to execute it.
Romo can commit to saying that, because if it doesn't, and we've seen it where he's not 100% of the time right. Like, oh, that was surprising. Like playoff game when he said they're 100%. There's no way when Patrick Mahomes was out for it was a back. I don't know who was the back. Case Keenum maybe. And he runs it on 4th down. He's like, there's no way they snap this ball. And then they go, or no way. And then he's like, oh, I'm surprised they, he can say that. Now you, on the defense, can say, hey, he said this, watch for, a run to the left, whatever. I don't know all the terminology. Watch for this. But they're not going to say, okay, he's running this. Everybody commit to it. You can't 100%. You can say, hey, watch for this. This is what's going to happen. Now, if you're stealing the signs, and the offense doesn't hear you, hey, call this, this is what's happening. Then the quarterback hears you, be like, okay, we might want to audible out of this. I think they know the play. But if you know 100% that this is a run to the left or whatever, a draw, you call that play in, and everybody knows they're not calling it. They're not talking to each other. Hey, it's this. They huddle up. They say, hey, guys, we saw the sign. I don't know how in-depth it goes. And they're going to run a draw to the right. It does go a lot easier to stop it. Like, if you know for sure.
When we were calling high school games, though, we would call it. We would know in this third down, this team will run this play with 3rd and 3, and they will get it every single time. You can't tell me that the coaches that are scouting them every single week that are looking at this and saying on 3rd and 3, they always run this play to this hole to this time, and they still can't scheme against it. Like,
do they commit 100% to it though?
But even then, you're sign stealing. You can't commit 100% because you don't know that you're 100% right on the signs.
I mean, it's like the
Eagles. If you have a guy recording the signs from the
but you don't know that they didn't change the signs that week. That's the thing, is you don't 100%. You never. There's nobody that knows 100%. You have a pretty good idea.
It's not the players though. When you get the signs, the players can't just sit over there and stare at the signs. obviously, if you're staring at the signs, something's up.
No, it's
like
the signs,
something.
The
coaches still have to call the play.
Well,
they're designing their play calls based on what it is. That's where the issue is I'm saying you're going to run a trap here. Well, guess what? I'm stacking the box for that, and we're holding our ground. Every man has a gap, and we're going to hold that gap, and you can't run that play up the middle. Like, that's the defense you're scheming. Like, you still had, so I'm saying, you still have to execute. Even the best defensive matchup and the best offensive matchup, perfect play calls on both sides, somebody's going to win and lose.
So
and it's not always one side.
So does that where the helmet radios come into play, where they
could see how
they call the play,
yes.
They call the play, then they see what they, because the offense isn't waiting for the defense to come onto the field, then call it. Not 100%. Like they might line up and call a timeout, see what they do.
You have 2 to 3 audibles ready.
So Sark is telling viewers this is the play, like giving them the
in his ear.
and then he sees, oh crap, they changed it. We're going to change the play. But if and I know you can't radio, it cuts off at a certain time. You can't radio
play clock time.
Yeah, you can't talk
to him. If you get
to
out and get to the line quick enough, then yeah, you take advantage of having him in his ear.
Yeah,
pre-snap.
And we saw it even with high school. They hurry up to the line, they see what they have going, then they look to the sideline. So I'm in favor.
So that's where the sign stealing, where this would be good, is because you're looking at the sideline getting these sign steals and stuff. Like, okay, let's cut that out. Let's just head to the field, and my quarterback's here, and I'm just talking to him, and we maybe even speed up the pace of the game.
So I'm all for it because it kind of levels the playing field in that instance. Because not for lesser teams or poorer teams that don't have the resources to have these, but for like, I don't know, since we're talking about Michigan, let's throw Appalachian State out there because they've upset them before. Whereas if you have a lesser team, like say, hey, they outcoach the other team, that's all fine. But if the other team's better at getting their signs out quicker, their plays out quicker, and that's why they upset them, it's like, but is that how you want to win? Is that how you want to watch them because you want to see it play on the field? I'm all for this. Like, why not do it? They do it in the NFL. Nobody complains about it. I'm fine with them doing it in college. I agree. I mean, here's the way it has to be one set rule across.
You want to cut out sign stealing? Go back to what it used to be when we were kids, is you would send a player would rotate, or a new receiver would come in with the play, give it to the quarterback, the other receiver go out, and you just have guys on rotation constantly.
I mean, there's always guys going in and out outside of no huddles.
Now that was when it was a lot easier. When it was eye right, blast right, 22 trap. Like
you had 10 plays.
That was easier when it's like I couldn't even attempt to call.
The Chiefs use
I mean, it's like
TV show names.
XZY.
Yeah, you see all the different pictures, Kim Kardashian or whatever on the board. That mean nothing. That's what they need to do. They need a lot more fake, like in baseball when you're doing 50 different things and only this means steal when you're just doing all this other stuff to hide signals. Before we run out of time, we'll get back to that. Obviously, if more news comes about Michigan, let's jump Landen over to the thread. And hopefully our cameras are set up. I don't think I made sure we're all in frame there. But we're gonna look at some new uniforms from the Arizona Diamondbacks. If y'all have those pulled up.
It's kind of weird because I didn't realize that. I thought they just got new uniforms. Like they've been using these colors and
I don't think that whatever you call it, the teal, the bluish green. I don't know that that's been an official color because I know guys will wear the sleeves, but I've also seen them wear purple in the World Series. But these are very, very clean uniforms. They're just, I mean, I wouldn't normally before seeing them pick that blue with that red or that teal with that red. But it looks very good.
I really like the red.
But you have your normal home and away. You just have the A, then you have your away where it says your city or state name. Your home, the red ones say Diamondbacks. That's what you have at home. You see even the different hats. They have 4 different hats here.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of mixed together with the red.
It's kind of the same colorway, just with the different logos between the A and the D.
Yeah, and then the red uniforms, they obviously have both. I'm sure they don't show it with the black, but I'm sure they can wear the red hats with the black. The same with the white uniforms and gray uniforms. I think we're going to see. I mean, again, it's not going over the top. The craziest thing about this is the color scheme, which seems to work. And maybe
still very similar to what they played with last year. I think it looks like they're using because I had this complaint in the World Series. They have these jerseys that have like they have this green color on them, this teal color, and this like what we see. But then they had like one of their uniforms. It was just white, black, and red.
Yeah,
and there was none of the teal. I'm like, this looks so weird. Like
it's
you have
very general. Yeah, these all are the same, uniform. And I'm sure they'll have their City Connect and all that too.
But these seem to blend better to me across the whole spectrum.
And then look at they have the normal gray. I know last year they had like that dark charcoal gray color, which I liked. It was different. But this is just these are your normal uniforms. You have the pinstripes.
Like Nike standard base.
If you're not going to go over the top with your uniforms and you're just going to create basic uniforms, this is what they are. And I think they do a great job with it, where, to me, I think like the teams that win you should keep your normal. Like, I'm not a big fan of like when the Utah Jazz completely changed color schemes. Yeah. I know Arizona originally had purple and they still throw purple in there with different accessories and stuff. But I like a nice base where when you watch a game, you're like, I've never seen that uniform. Like every other game, it's a different uniform. And again, if you would have thrown these colors at me without seeing the uniform, I would be like, yeah, you need. Even last year, I'm like, I think you might need to pick. Do you want purple or teal as your second? And I don't think purple was on any of their uniforms, but they had the sleeves and which made it kind of look weird. You're throwing purple in. I know they had teal with some of these. I particularly like this black one. That makes that teal look almost neon colored.
Does. Yeah.
And then the red where it just says Diamondbacks and they have you don't even have the A anywhere on there. I think it's a good look. And interestingly enough, I think announcing this a couple of weeks after losing the World Series kind of changes. Like normally you'd see this, the dead time where you're not hearing anything about baseball. This would be like a January type thing. You know, the winter meetings are over, free agency's over.
You're looking for some spikes.
February's when everyone reports.
Excited. Yeah, maybe this gets their fans excited for that. I don't think you announced.
I love these uniforms.
I don't think you announced that this week if you win. Honestly, if you were to win the World Series, I don't think that's
as we see here in DFW with the Rangers. It's just constant. Like everyone's just posting. Again, that last pitch, just randomly, they'll just post it. Like, I can't get enough of this. And it's just, it's a lot of fun. Whereas, I get it. You know, we saw in 2010, 2011, it's just like.
Trust me, Arizona, we know.
Yeah.
We know the feeling.
I love these uniforms. I can't wait. I know the Rangers do play the Diamondbacks. That's a new schedule. Everybody plays everybody every year. So I'm interested to see. I don't know if I guess it would be here because they played in Arizona last year. Or maybe they played both. They played two different 2-game series, but I'd be very interested to see which. And now I know we're out of time, but Bally's is no longer going to be part of the Rangers. So who knows? Maybe you'll get more Ranger games on regular TV.
Maybe you can watch normal games on YouTube TV again.
Yeah, because I had Bally's and I never got the Rangers games. I don't know. I was paying the $20 a month. I got Mavericks, Stars, Dallas Wings. I didn't know because they say it's part of it, but I didn't get any Rangers games. I don't know if that was in a deal where you had to have the DirecTV or whatever.
I think it's ridiculous that you locally, I don't know, we are out of time, but locally you can't just get your teams. Like you should, if you're
we would always have, was it Channel 21, Channel 27, always have Mavericks or Rangers if they were on the national game?
We should be able to locally get all Mavericks, all Cowboys, all Rangers, all Stars. Like, there's no reason locally you shouldn't be able to watch your team every night.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe that's a future episode because I know you're talking on the Sports Biz with Tony Nix. You talked about Bally and all the different things that go into that. But guys, thank you for tuning into this episode of The Leadoff. Heard here Saturdays on the Peak One Sports Network. Again, we'll be off next week, obviously Thanksgiving weekend, but we'll be back in a couple of weeks to get you ready for your sports weekend. Thanks. I'm Ashton. Until next time.
I'm Tony. Have a great Thanksgiving.